What is up, everybody? I'm Jordan. Welcome back to the channel. This video is on a little bit different of a topic than anything I've talked about, but something that I am very, very passionate about. I think I might have touched on potentially talking about this topic in previous videos, and that is Bitcoin. I figured I'd put out this emergency video right now because it's kind of a big talk of the town. There's a lot going on in the banking and finance sector, and I think it's just the perfect time to put something out like this. Goes without being said, but none of this is investment advice. This is stuff that I do with my own money and really just my overall thoughts on the whole space, on the banking space, the financial markets as a whole. But do not take any of this as investment advice. Invest in all things at your own risk. All right, so let's just jump right into it. I'm sure you have seen this bet that former Coinbase CTO Balalji has done. He is essentially wagering $1 million on his end to someone for one Bitcoin, so 40 to 1 odds that Bitcoin will be worth $1 million in 90 days. Don't really know what to say about that. Previously, before this, even still, I think I wouldn't necessarily consider him a Bitcoin maximalist. Just from what I've seen from him, he's definitely dabbled in the altcoin space. I think he still is interested in that, if I'm not mistaken. Um, so yeah, it's something that is pretty crazy. It's definitely shaking the whole Bitcoin world, the crypto world. I'm sure when you turn on any of these finance TV shows, which I don't really watch, they'll be talking about it. It's a kind of a big deal. He's a high profile person. One thing I have seen on Twitter is I think a lot of people are misunderstanding kind of what this bet is. He's not necessarily saying that he thinks Bitcoin will be worth $1 million in today's dollars, what $1 million is worth right now. I think he's saying that we are going to see a full-scale banking collapse globally, hyperinflation of the United States dollar, which is the global reserve currency, and this would be a huge, huge deal. Do I think that this is going to happen? Do I think within the next 90 days Bitcoin will be worth $1 million USD, that the entire banking system will be collapsing, and that we will be thrust into a hyperinflationary event? I'm not sure about that, but I definitely would not rule it out. He is way smarter than I am. This is something that I've been saying I think is a possibility for years now. And fact of the matter is, banks have no liquidity. That's been the case for a long, long time. He's talking about that now. People have talked about this for years and years and years. This is nothing new. It's new to the mainstream, but it's just how it is. To me, it seemed like this system has been on the brink of collapse for years and years and years. 2020, it was getting close, the end of 2019, coming into 2020, and then that thing happened that you all might remember that kind of helped them save the economy. They got to inject tons of liquidity in, and it kind of patched over things, I think, a little bit. These problems stem way back, way before 2008, before 2000, but it's just kind of a compounding issue. Every time there becomes a problem, for example, in 2008, they've done a great job at just bandaging it up, getting trust back from the public, and to the moon again. This might be the time, and that's kind of what he's saying with this bet, that there is no bandaging this. This is essentially the end of the dollar system, the modern banking system. In my opinion, it probably needs to go, but it happening that quickly would not be a world that I think any of us want to live in. I'm not sure. I don't personally know any Bitcoiner. I don't follow any Bitcoiner that is rooting for this to happen. All of us have our money in this. We've talked about this. You've heard about it, that this is a possibility. And that's just making a diagnosis. But nobody is hoping that 90 days from now, a year from now, even, the entire banking system collapses, because that means everyone that we know that isn't holding any Bitcoin is pretty much screwed. Their life savings gone. Everything they've worked for gone. My parents' retirement gone. All of it is gone. And that is not necessarily a world that we want to be living in. Most rational Bitcoiners, I think, are hoping that the transition to a Bitcoin world is a slow one. It can be done kind of seamlessly without as too much pain. Obviously, there'll be some pain, but the way it's looking right now, with the collapse of Signature Bank, with the collapse of Silicon Valley Bank, with all this Credit Suisse stuff going on, there was a new study that came out that said like 200 banks are at risk of collapsing. And that's probably just the beginning, sadly. And that's why I think you can't necessarily rule out the idea that Bitcoin is worth $1 million in 90 days. It seems absolutely absurd. But in the modern age, especially, even before the modern age, where we have social media, where we have TV, we have 24-hour news cycles, if there was a run on all these banks, if there was a total collapse in trust in the banking system, I don't think people really realize how quickly hyperinflation would happen, how quickly the government would be injecting trillions, trillions of dollars into the system to try to save this. They'd probably nationalize banks. You could probably expect a central bank digital currency from pretty much every major country in the world, or at least major conglomerate of countries, the EU, the United States. I mean, it could get crazy, and it would get crazy really, really fast. But like I said, that's not a world we want to be living in. In this world, this said world, $1 million Bitcoin in 90 days, that probably means $40 eggs at least. That means going out to dinner, if you can even go out to dinner, is costing you $1,000. I have no idea. Probably more. This is just something that is pretty crazy, but it speaks to the reason why you should be owning Bitcoin. Forget every other cryptocurrency, forget everything. It is the only asset in the world that is immutable. It cannot be seized. It can be sent across the world in the snap of a finger, any amount. And most importantly, it has no counterparty risk. That is what everyone is learning now. Putting your money in the bank has counterparty risk. Buying Bitcoin, self-custodying it yourself, you have no counterparty risk. Plain and simple, end of story. That is why I personally believe in Bitcoin. That's why so many others believe in it. It's something that in situations like this, it can't be messed with. You can't. Also, let's go back to the whole reason we're in this. The whole reason that any of this even exists is because we live on a fiat standard. Fiat currency is fake money. The government prints as much money as they want. They manipulate interest rates. They do whatever they want. They bail out whoever they want to bail out. They let the banks and businesses and individuals die who they don't care about. Some people, money for their friends, everyone else left to dry. We live in a Cantillon corporatist society. Nobody alive, I've said this a million times on Twitter, has ever seen a true capitalist society. It hasn't existed. And Bitcoin at least gives us that dream. For a long time before Bitcoin, gold kind of gave that dream. But the problem with gold is you can't send it all over the world. Quickly, at least. You can load up a pallet onto an airplane and ship over a couple $1 million, but that's not really reasonable. It's also not reasonable in the year 2023 to be walking around with 1 ounce gold coins and shaving little pieces off because of how much it's worth to pay for things. That's something where the Bitcoin standard would be different. Now, I know a lot of people will argue that Bitcoin, on the base layer at least, on the Bitcoin network, you're not able to make transactions like that. You have to wait for blocks to clear. It takes time. But that's the beauty of the Lightning Network. And I know some would argue that that's what altcoins or whatever are for. Some of them are better at it. They'll throw Nano at you. They'll throw Dogecoin at you. They'll throw Bitcoin Cash at you. I've done it all. And chances are you're going to get wrecked with those things. Bitcoin is here. It's here to stay. We have the Lightning Network. It works fantastically. It obviously would like to have some more time to scale, but hey, in times of chaos, that is when the greatest innovation comes. So let's say we are thrown into this world. I have no doubt that the people out there, the engineers out there doing the real work, will get the Lightning Network up and running. There will definitely be hiccups. I mean, like I said, this is not a world we want. We do not want to see Bitcoin at $1 million, 2 million, 5 million, 10 million within 90 days. Like, that is scary. You're not going to want Bitcoin. You're going to want ammo probably in that world. And that's not a world that I want to live in. Simple as that. If that world comes, I'm probably gone. I'm definitely gone from the United States. And I don't know what that situation looks like, but hopefully we're not seeing that. But again, I did want to kind of clarify. I've seen a lot of people thinking that he's just being a crazy maximalist. I don't think that's what he's doing. He is simply laying out that he believes this is the end. This is the end of the banking system. This is the end of modern finance as we know it. Probably the end of Keynesian economics. This is the beginning of hyperinflation. And the world, I'm not sure, is ready for that. We've seen hyperinflation in countries like Zimbabwe, Argentina, Venezuela. There's many others. I mean, Lebanon right now, Turkey is having crazy inflation. I don't know if it's considered hyperinflation. It's happened, but it's never happened to the global reserve currency. And I'm not really sure what happens when that happens. It's not good. I know that. So, enough doom talking here. Let's end this video on a high note. I believe, and why I invest in Bitcoin, is it can be a savior. It can be something that if we adopt and done right, and it's not able to be taken over by any government, which it's not, it is really our only hope, in my opinion. As dark and sad as that seems, it is our only hope to avoid all of this, to push something like this happening again out hundreds of years, if it ever happens again. But let's be honest, humans are very greedy. They'll find a way to fractionally reserve bank Bitcoin. They always find a way. It happened on the gold standard. It's going to happen again probably. But if we can build this first generation to raise another generation, to raise another generation, the importance of self-custody and not trusting a counterparty, then maybe it will never happen again. The root of the problem is fiat money. The root of the problem is fractional reserve banking. The root of the problem is central banks. But we can defeat all that. It can be done. It will be hard. I hope it's not a 90-day transition. But if it is, hopefully you got some Bitcoin. All right, guys. I will catch you all in the next video. If you like this video, hit that like button, hit comment, subscribe. Let me know what you think about all this. Let me know if you want to see me make more videos like this. As I said at the beginning, Bitcoin is one of my biggest passions. All the things I put on this channel are things that I'm incredibly passionate about. Living an animal-based lifestyle, living healthy, becoming strong mentally and physically, traveling the world, eating good food, spending time with your loved ones. Those are all very, very important to me. They're part of my core values. And you can add Bitcoin and all the values that come with it to that list. And it has been for a while. So, like I said, like, comment, subscribe, and I will catch you all on the next video. Stay safe out there.